Yo, what up guys? OPTC Daniel here. So today I have a good video for you. We're here with Nathan. He got first place in Toulouse in France, I think. It was a pretty small regional, like 200 plus ish players, and it played this
Yeah,
weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
yeah, exactly. We had 248 players, I think, at the end. Uh, and yeah, it was 8 rounds.
8 rounds. And top cut?
Yeah, yeah, which I just snuck into because I lost two really tight games, one to Boatbeard and one to Mirror, and I was 6-2, but both my opponents were in the top 16 as well. So I had really good tiebreakers, and I managed to sneak into position 15 in in the top cut. So that was quite a nice surprise on the Saturday.
Yeah, no, for sure, that's insane. Alright,
Yeah.
what were your matchups?
So I'm playing Zoro, as you can see. That's what I was playing. It was funny also because the first round. So I mentioned just before when we were chatting, I played in the Treasure Cup in Germany, and one of my losses was actually to the guy who became second at the Treasure Cup. So we saw each other at the regional. We were chatting about it. It's like, oh, imagine we have to play each other again, then you can have your revenge. And the first round, bam, we face each other. So it was quite a good moment. Like I had to beat him. He was playing Kid, which was surprising because I don't see many kids anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the day, I guess I saw a bit all of the meta. I think like I played two kids, which was weird. Also in the last round, two Kinemons. I played one Smoker, one Law, one Zoro, and one Whitebeard. And the Zoro and the Whitebeard were my losses.
Yeah. And in top cut?
In the top cut, I played first a Whitebeard, then a Law, and then two more Whitebeards. So
Okay, so
it was
Whitebeard was still everywhere.
yeah, exactly. But there is a bit of variation because there was in the top cut, the first Whitebeard was Boatbeard, the second Whitebeard was Strawbeard, and the last one was Boat again. So still a bit of a different game plan also.
Yeah, must have been refreshing instead of doing the same thing every time.
Yeah, I mean the games go. That's the because also to tell you the truth, when I was so we traveled with a group of guys from Italy because I know a few people from there,
Mm-hmm.
and we were the night before we were still like kind of discussing our deck lists, and we had one guy we call him Dikle. He had a nice Zoro list that we were already testing a bit, and we also had a boat beard list that we were quite happy with. And I wrote both deck lists. And when I sat down for round one, I still had both deck lists in front of me. And I was like, which one am I going to play today? And I'm glad I went with the Zoro.
And what was
Uh,
the factor that you choose Zoro above Whitebeard?
yeah, and that's the point why I also felt like that when I played against Whitebeard. When you play Whitebeard, and I love the deck. I played it a lot as well in the locals and smaller tournaments here. You always get to a point because of the leader's effect that you're sitting there with a lot of cards in hand, hopefully, and hopefully a good board as well. But it comes down to do they have it or they do not have it, right? And I don't want to be in that situation. With the Zoro matchup, it depends on who you're playing against and how you're playing, of course, but you have a lot more control. Like with Whitebeard, even if you're playing against a random deck, at some point you will get to the stage do they have it or not? And you have a lot of control because you have a lot of cards in hand, but still sometimes it's just unlucky with Zoro because at least your leader's effect doesn't literally kill you. You still have a bit more control towards the end as to your own fate. Basically, like I had sometimes these situations where I had the cards in my hand. I can look at my life and I can say, okay, with this, with what they have on board, they cannot kill me. Like there's physically, like mathematically, no way that I can die. With Whitebeard, it's always very tricky.
Yeah, no, that's
But
totally
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
All right, so let's go into the deck profile.
Great. So I'll show you the usual suspects, let's say, and maybe some of the flex slots that we had and that we decided on in the end.
Yeah.
So first of all, for Sunnycoons, extremely important. Um, very often, and this was the case for the top cut as well, if someone can choose against Zoro, they will usually not let you go first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's also because a lot of the Strawbeard decks, for example, or Goatbeard, they usually want to go second. It's in almost every matchup correct to go second. But other matchups will not always do that. Think of Law or Kinemon also will let you go first. But what I like with all the one drops, and you'll see that I play a lot of them, is that you really want to put something on the board that the next turn can attack, so that you can attack live twice, or even better, if you're on the draw, that you can play two of them on the first turn. And it doesn't have to be two Sunnycoons, but if you imagine, if you play two Sunnycoons on your first turn, on your second turn you have 4 Dawn. If you put 1 Dawn on Zoro and 1 Dawn on each of them, you're attacking 3 times for 5 already on your first attack turn, basically. So that's really powerful. That puts a lot of pressure on a lot of decks. And the way that this deck is built is that you don't really care that they're going to trade with your characters, because you have so many small characters that you just swarm them and you just dwindle the resources in their hand as fast as possible. So the Sunnycoons, which of course you can find with the Namis, very important in this deck. I think I was quite lucky in the sense that I only whiffed once in the whole tournament, but it's quite painful when you do. But obviously very important to find your pressure points, finding Zoros, finding the Sunnies, and the jet pistols when you need them. Also, quite often the radical beams, which you'll see I'm playing a few of as well. But obviously staple in the deck. One card that we weren't sure about in the sense of the numbers, so the Gordon, extremely powerful effect. Also really nice to drop on turn 1 with, if you have a Magura in hand or something, with the chance to first attack and then make a character smaller and kill it. If you can plan that against red, if you're not against red or green, you don't have to be so scared that this will die. You can just play it, have it be in the field, maybe sneak in an attack at some point, and then trade with something else. I really wanted to play 4, but I'm a bit concerned at the fact that it doesn't have counter, and that if you happen to draw it in live when you really need just this one extra 1k to survive, it's a bit painful. It's also not searchable. But that was the card that personally I was the most not sure about. I kind of wanted to play 4, but I couldn't really see where I would fit it. But yeah, really strong card. Allows you to trade very easily with big characters. If they play a 7-drop kid, even before they block, you just use this effect. Now it's a 4k. If they block, they're gonna lose it. It's very powerful. They have to discard a lot of resources, and they're on low life, so they have to block, and that's a bit the game you're trying to play with this deck. Usual suspects, right? 4 Otamas, great with your Vista effects along with the Gordons, great for staying alive with the 2k. I did attack quite a few times with the Otamas after you play them, just to, if you attach 4 Dawn to it and 1 Dawn to your leader, you can still attack for 5.
Yeah.
And obviously the Makinos or the Makuras, which can boost them. So very powerful. That was in the semi-final, a very strong turn where I had to attack the Whitebeard. He had 3 cards in hand, and I had possibly 4 attackers. And I was dead on the swing back, but because I had a Makino in hand, I could boost a Magura to be 6k with just enough Dawn attached to all my little characters. So the plus 3k is huge. Like, it really allows you to push through. I even attacked with a Nami for 2 Dawn. So I played a Magura, then a Makino on a Nami, had 1 Dawn on my leader. It's attacking for 9,000 for 3 Dawn. So that's the type of effects that you can do with this deck. The Maguras, we decided on 3. It's a very powerful card. I like playing them out early. Play turn 1 a Sunny, attack straight away for 6k or something like that. And then you have a body in play which can trade with little characters or even be boosted to be stronger later. It has 1k, so it's not a lost card in the deck either. And then one special tech, maybe, that we don't see in a lot of Zoro lists anymore is the blockers. We decided on 2 choppers. A friend of mine was playing only 1, but I want to see 1, really. And the reason is that it throws off your opponent's curve completely and for quite a lot of matchups. So it won me 3 rounds at least, where, for example, even against a Kinemon player, where they have the Oden down and they could attack you exactly enough times. You play this, they have to play one of their rest characters, which costs some extra Dawn, so that their Oden is not big enough to do the attack through the Radical Beam or something like that. And then you can attack full force for the counter attack. It's also great against Whitebeard if you're expecting them to play a second Whitebeard, but they really need to hit you. If you play a chopper, they need to commit 2 Dawn to their Whitebeard to kill your chopper to get through. If they play a second Whitebeard, then the chopper can just jump in front of the 10k attack. Really throws off the curve. Same with Ace. If you know they're going to play Ace, and you have a few characters you want to keep, like some Rush Zoros, for example, if you have even 1 chopper in play, it's going to make their attack a lot more awkward. So yeah, very useful. It was great this tournament. Some more usual suspects. I don't think I need to explain it too much. The Brooks. One thing though that you need to think about, I would say, in this game is, am I on the defensive or on the offensive? Yes, this is a 2k, but I've seen myself quite often play it, boost the character with the 2 rested Dawn, but also with the idea that means I have an extra attacker for next turn, which is very relevant in some matchups. So it's not because it's a 2k that you need to put in your head like I can only use it for that. Especially in this deck, it's quite important that you know when you need to use this for offense rather than defense. Then we have the dance, also pretty self-explanatory, a lot of advantage, card advantage, and again, this 3k, which is quite key. With 1 Dawn on your leader, 1 Dawn on the character, you can attack for 5, which is great. We have 4 Vistas, also amazing in a lot of matchup, clears the blockers. Together with Gordon and or Otama, it can clear away some very big things. In the Whitebeard matchups, it's also great when they have Vistas of their own or something to just kill them, because when they have the boat out, they become dangerous. So yeah, just a very important card advantage card, actually also relatively self-explanatory. And obviously the 4 Zoro Rush that are, I think, mandatory in this deck. And now this is maybe the surprise slot. We have 2 Utahs in this deck. Again, a card with no counter, so a bit scary. But the fact that you have the chopper allows you to, out of nowhere, play a threat that can be quite dangerous on the next turn because it has a base 4k attack. Take a chopper out of the yard to just block a lethal attack. Get a Vista back to destroy a surprise blocker. Get a Zoro back if you need a surprise attack. And also, it's a really good card if you're trading resources a lot with your character, with your opponent, like in a mirror. When you have nothing left, you play Uta, you get a Dadan back, which hopefully gets a Nami back, which maybe finds a Sunikun. You went from an empty board for 7 Dawn, you suddenly have 4 characters in play. So that's also a bit the idea of this card, just to get back the card advantage that you might lose in an attrition war, or to get the utility from the cards that you used already in the game. So yeah, they were also definitely MVPs. Only playing 2 because you do usually just want to see 1. If you see too many of them, again, the counter becomes a bit dangerous. And that's also actually the The reason that personally some of the other teammates did not agree, but I'm only playing 3 Whitebeards. I think the card is great when you say it on curve, when you can play it on 9 or 10, depending on if you went first. Can be very powerful, but I usually find myself in this deck not wanting to play a second one right afterwards, unless you're in a very specific situation, because you just want to pressure them. And usually, this is the thing with this deck. If you play a Whitebeard and then you have only 1 down left, all your little characters cannot attack because they do not meet 5k. So that's a thing with this deck. I much prefer to swarm when you're on 7 or 8 dawn, and then on 9 play this. You have a full board. The next turn you can just go crazy. And again, the fact that it doesn't have counter, if you hit it off live and towards the end, like in the finals of the tournament, I was on stream, and a lot of people in the chat were asking if I was even playing the card because I didn't drew any. But you don't really need it. It can be very powerful in some matchups. It's great against green. It's great to have one. Um, but but yeah, only playing 3 of them. And personally, I think that is the right number. Jet pistol was a big question. I'm only playing 2. A bit the same reason, let's say, with the Whitebeard, that when you commit 4 down to something, you want it to be very impactful, and it's a lot for down, especially in the early game. Um, you kind of just want to be attaching down to your characters to swing as much as possible for small amounts. Now, there are some key cards that you really have to be able to kill, so it's nice to have one. Because I'm only playing 2, I was kind of prioritizing with Namis if I saw a jet pistol to take that card, because I can't really be expected to draw the other one. In the quarterfinals, it came in clutch though. I had played one already, I think on a Zoro or a law blocker, but he had another law blocker and he attacked me, and it was in my life. The second one was in my life, and that destroyed him. It just killed the law blocker out of nowhere, and still a very powerful card if you happen to find it in your life. But paying 4 for it is, you know, in a deck like this, which is so much about resource management and tempo, can be a bit. You lose a lot of tempo as well. And then also very good this tournament, and you scare people so much by leaving Dawn open in a Zoro deck. I'm playing 3 Radical Beams. They were amazing every time I drew them. A tip that I would give also to players playing this deck: it's not because you don't have a Radical Beam in hand that you shouldn't leave at least 1 or 2 Dawn up. One for the bluff, but also if you still have life cards, if you draw it, you don't have to trigger it. You can keep it in hand for the next attack, and they usually do not see that coming. Also, just out of nowhere, you can have plus 4,000. I had a moment when I had a Whitebeard character that was quite important in play. He had a 7-drop kit. He attached 9 Dawn to it to attack for 16k. I had 2 cards in hand. They were 2 Radical Beams. I managed to save the Whitebeard and swing for the win. So it was they also came in really clutch, and I like this kind of, it's very aggressive, but to have some defense that you can fall back on in the form of the 2 choppers and the Radical Beams, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, that's for sure. Are you also
Yeah.
gonna play Zoro in the next format in OPO3 or not?
I must say it looks still very powerful, especially with Izo and Buggy being added to the red searchers. I usually I play this deck a lot in the bigger tournaments, but in the locals I like to play around with a lot of different decks. I played the online regional. I played Zoro as well. I went 7-2 for 23rd place. So the deck is performing really well for me, and I think I'm probably going to keep playing it. And now I haven't looked at the spoilers that much for OPO3 because it's always so far in the future for us. But I'm definitely going to be testing it further and see how it goes.
Yeah, and are you also gonna go to Germany next week, to Barcelona, or participate in the online
Yeah.
regionals? Or
So I'm going to Germany. I did not get a ticket for the Treasure Cup, the online Treasure Cup. So I think this is the hardest thing about this game, is just getting into events, right?
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people can agree.
especially in America.
But yeah, we always joke in our local group, like when we get a ticket, we're like, okay, we beat round one. This was the hardest part. But but yeah, so even for the online regionals last time, I didn't have a ticket either. I managed to buy one last second on the day itself, and luckily I had no plans. But yeah, that I still find I'm not that happy with this game. That even if you're a good player, sometimes you just cannot play. Um, Barcelona, I'm not going to because also the website was a bit a bit trash for signing up. But
Yep.
I run the local pre-release events in Antwerp as well, and we've got ours on the same weekend as Barcelona. So I thought it was a bit weird that they organize the regionals on the same day as the pre-release. But
Yeah, no, that's a downside. Yeah, no, I have to miss my pre-release for that. So I'm
yeah,
going to
but at
Barcelona.
least you got a ticket, so that's nice.
Yeah, no, it was chaos to buy it. Really, the site crashed
Yeah,
like half an hour.
yeah. We had a few friends next to us who were all of them like refreshing their phone frantically, and I was just like, I'm not taking part in this. But
Yeah. All
yeah,
right. Thank you very much for the deck profile. Do you have
no, my
any shout
pleasure.
outs to some people who you wanna say, your Italian friends or your local group in
Yeah,
Antwerp?
so definitely like Enrico and Dicle and Eduardo were like, and Edward also were like, we were staying together and we chatted a lot about it the night before. Shout out to the nice opponents I had, actually super friendly, still in contact with some of them. We exchanged numbers. Christian from Croatia, Jao from Portugal. It was great to play against them, and then a lot of people who reached out after the event also to hear about the deck, to look at the loot. So it was a really nice moment also on that front.
Yeah. So
So yeah,
congratulations, and on to more successful toppings in the future.
we hope so. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye bye.